My name is Oscar B. Heikkenen. I was born 1952, and I was born in the hospital, Portage Hospital in Hancock. I was raised in a Finnish community here, and I am half Finn. My dad was a Finnish, but due to community, I consider myself being more Finnish in ethnicity than anything else. So we've always had some kind of affiliation towards Juhannus, you know, the longest day of the year, doing things that they would have been doing in Finland, like woods work and stuff. That was a big, that was what my great-grandfather did in Finland, and he brought over much of that, and the hunting and things like that. Yes, those are very big in. Well, it is very much so with me. You know, I think I take great pride in being who I am. I realize after making a trip to Finland, in the area where my great-grandfather came from, that it's very, I know now why I was raised the way I was raised. Yeah, I was raised here on the Heikkenen homestead farm. My great-grandfather homesteaded here in 1890. He was one of the first settlers to settle this area. This was a working dairy farm all of my life growing up until I entered college. Revolved around the milk cows, and the whole year was really, your life was totally involved with it, because you had to feed them every day, you had to clean, they had to be milked every day, you had to make hay for them in the summer, plant grains to feed them during the winter time. So it was definitely a farm upbringing. We would, family-wise, we would go for family outings where Dad would just drive around. Mom might make some sandwiches and stuff, and we'd drive around to different spots in the UP, not get too far, not more than 100 miles away, because we had to always be back in time to milk the cows, and that was usually about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, but that was probably the biggest thing I remember, you know, traveling around and just visiting different sites here in the UP. Visiting was a big thing back then, much more than it is now. I mean, my dad had a sister that lived in Marquette, and she had a number of children who we naturally gravitated towards, and we always wanted to go visit them. For sure, having been raised on a farm, that was very different. It's something that it's hard for anybody that hasn't been raised on a farm to really experience. It was just a way of life back then that everybody had cattle in the neighborhood, a few cattle, but for their own use. So we had like 24 milk cows and 40 head of animals altogether. And funny thing was, everybody at school you took a bath once a week, because we didn't have a shower in the house. We had just used a sauna, and the sauna was, as a result, you fired the sauna up once a week. So you probably smelled for barn. But everybody else in the neighborhood smelled for barn in our little school, and so nobody's ever said anything. Yeah, living out in the country is totally different than living in cities or villages where you're close to a school. We couldn't walk to school. We were five miles from our school. We couldn't walk, and trying to hitchhike it out, you might end up walking full 5 miles because there was so few cars on the roads. And so everything was centered around here mainly. And as you grew older, you did things that were here, hunting, fishing down on the lake, and like I said earlier, to playing baseball. During the summertime, we just form a team. We could get everybody together. I know things like, especially like hunting and fishing, that was something that was available to us. So we would definitely try to learn as much as we could from our adults, and ask them to take us fishing and stuff when we were really young, and eventually go on our own. There's a lot of things associated with work, like wood making and stuff, and you'd want to know how to do things just so you could do it. Again, being on a farm here, you had to know how to drive tractors and things, so you had to have the adults teach you, although it was always at a very young age. I guess the biggest, the thing that I'm involved with most is the Heikkenen Homestead Museum Association. We maintain and guide at the Heikkenen Homestead nearby. It's a Finnish homestead that Heikkinen family homesteaded in 1896. I do a lot of work with that. We organize it. We maintain it. That is, fix buildings, have things fixed. We also have events, at least one big event once a year, to raise money to support it. So that would be the biggest organization I belong to. I do belong to my Lutheran Church, Evangelical Lutheran Church in Michigan. Nixon Kennedy presidential elections. That was probably one of the first that was televised and stuff, and we did have a television, and there was things on it that I definitely can remember. Getting a man on the moon was really something. Kennedy had said that there would be a man on the moon by 1969, and there was. It was just unbelievable. We took one of the last rides on the train from Chassel up to Calumet. It was a passenger train that I think went to Marquette, and so that was one of my few train rides in my life. But I always remember leaving Chassel, and I didn't know where when we got to Calumet. I didn't know where I was at because we just didn't go up there, and we usually went to Houghton. Well, World War II was obviously before my time. I was born in '52, so it was ended. But the big thing was the talk. Whenever there was discussions amongst adults, it seemed like the talk always went to I graduated from college and started my professional engineering career, which I pursued throughout, working for different nuclear businesses to begin with. In 1974, when I got out of college, that's where the hiring was, so that's where you went to work. And worked in different places in the United States, and then I worked for a couple of different companies in the nuclear business. Eventually, I quit and went to work for the Michigan Department of Transportation, whom I retired from after 24 years. I think number one, we went to John A. Doley School in Tapiola to begin with, and it was closed in 1968. It was 150 kids in the whole school, so we had one of the bigger classes, 21 kids in it. I think there the thing was that you had a smaller school, and everybody learned something. Everybody was part of it. You had to, and the teachers or the classes were small enough. Everybody came from the same background. There was not the cliques that you've seen. When the school closed and we went to Berga, you could right away see the cliques. There was some kids just grouped together in their like-mindedness, and some kids didn't learn anything because they had reinforcement, I think, amongst their group, so they just didn't learn nothing. A lot of kids quit school now. I think that's the biggest thing nowadays. All the schools are going to such big. The trend is to go to big schools, and you do lose the kids. I don't think learn. Oh yeah, yes I do. I most of my, especially from Dolly, the 21 of us that were there, we're all, you know, from not a big community here, probably a 5-mile radius to the school, and we have get-togethers every so often. We all feel like we're part of Dolly, although the majority of us ended up graduating from Baraga, and I do meet with the Baraga kids too. You know, they're the Baraga school class. We have reunions every 10 years, and I know a lot of them from the area that are still in the area and stuff. So yeah, I still maintain as much communication as I can. I think I like it. Most definitely, how you're brought up is how you are towards others. I think one of the big things, we always, on the farm here, we were always entertaining the fact that everybody wanted to come here. All my cousins, you know, some of the cousins, they'd come up from Detroit, and the first stop they made was jump out of the car and come running up the driveway, wanting to hollering, "We're here, we're here." They wanted to be on the farm here, and the thing was, everybody, there's so much activity going around, and you couldn't leave the farm to go do lots of things. But lots of people came here, which was good, and so as a fact, you end up sharing. I mean, Ma was always cooking meals. Anybody that came along, they just sat down and had dinner with us. You know, which were always meat and potatoes. We had lots of meat on the farm, you know, and of course potatoes. Nothing real fancy or that. You know, we didn't have pizzas or tacos. I never had one of those until I got out of college. You know, it was one of those things. So, but sharing, helping others too. Neighbors needed help or something, go do stuff. We'd go with my dad over to their houses and we'd help them. That was part of our upbringing. It still is the way, I think. You know, I think we have to help one another. Oh yeah. I'd say one of the things is don't give up on God. I mean, it's so easy nowadays to just poo-poo it away. I mean, when we were raised, one of the rites of passage was we had to be confirmed. We went to Sunday school, then we had confirmation. I made my kids go through confirmation. They didn't like it. I don't think all that lots, but they did. My son, he played hockey, and he missed games because I said, "No, you got to go to confirmation." They're both good kids. I think it helped them a lot, and it structured their life is what it helped. So that's one of the things. Kids need structure in life. They can't be just left alone. I think hunting and fishing, if you can take a kid hunting and fishing with you, you know, and shooting a gun, learning things is a big, important thing. And the only way you do it is if you're with somebody. You find a purpose for why do you do that certain thing, and it makes sense. So learn to do things, keep a open mind to things, and follow the golden rule if you want your relations with other people. Do unto others as they do unto you.